Greg, with the issues you guys had with rebounding and sometimes on defense last year, how do you expect the newcomers this year, be it freshmen or transfers, to kind of fill those voids and help those weaknesses?
Yeah, I don't expect the newcomers to fill those weaknesses. I expect the kids that are coming back, the ones that were on the court last year that'll be back this year, to fill those weaknesses. We've addressed those issues every day, multiple times a day in practice, and so I expect the two young ladies you just spoke to, Whit Creech, Dee Givens, Raneem, Muriel, I expect those young ladies to address those issues.
When you have kind of that veteran presence on the court in terms of this senior class, does that make your job a little bit easier when you know you can trust that group?
It might make it easier if we didn't have as many areas that we were trying to improve upon. If we were returning and had played solidly or more efficiently than we had in the past, there were a lot of things that we had to learn last year, and we got better at several of those areas. There's still some more things that we've got to improve upon, and so in that respect, in some ways it's harder. I mean, it's easier because I know the players, but getting them to change and to do things that they haven't done on their own in the past makes it a little bit more difficult sometimes, but I really like this group of players, and they're all great young ladies, and the chemistry is really positive. They're working hard together. We just finished our third day in a row of practicing at 5 a.m. and this morning, and I was just telling Zach Greenwell that the energy, you know, we've had early morning practices when I coached at other universities, and always it's not the time issue, it's just the energy issue at that time of the morning. There's a long day the day before, and the energy has been really, really strong each of these days. And so we just finished our 4th consecutive day of practice, 3rd day at 5 a.m. And they were gassed a little bit, but they still competed and went hard. And so I can't ask any more than that.
So does it seem like they're ready to go, ready to finally get the season underway?
I feel like they're ready to play somebody else. I mean, I sense that from them, that they think they're ready to play. They probably sense from me that we're not ready to play. That I wish we had 10 or 15 more days to practice. But the truth is, we're gonna get our exhibition in next week on Halloween, and then the following Tuesday we'll be back up in Louisville and playing them. So those days are gonna get here regardless, obviously, and I like our preparation, I like our effort and our energy. I told the players today before we broke, they've got the weekend off. We're trying to give them a weekend before we hit the season full speed next week. That I'm not frustrated by any means with our effort, our energy. I really want us just to be a more efficient, a cleaner playing team, fewer fumbles, fewer drop balls, and so those things, when we clean those things up, I think we got a chance to be a really good team.
Coach, kind of going off Matt's first question, with some of those newer players, I know earlier this preseason you had said you could see some of them adding more depth and making an impact later in the season, but do you see any of them making an impact early on for you guys? I
think that our junior college transfer, Fatupoi, I think she has an opportunity to really help us. She's athletic. She really can guard 1 through 5. She goes and hunts rebounds, which is something that we needed from last year. I think she has an opportunity to help us as well. There are other 2 freshman guards. We'll add depth. Obviously, we have some strength in that position from Witt and Dee and on down the line. Sherry Porter. When Alexis Brewer gets back, I think we have a number of kids that are playing in that position. So they'll add some depth in moments. Then Tori Hunter, the freshman post, she's still obviously learning from Raneem, and as well as Sandra Skinner, who every day in practice is bringing a real, I describe it as a real blue-collar approach. She just works hard, goes after rebounds. I mean, she plays great defense, and those are areas that will help us as well.
Coach, I know last year at points you said you needed more out of Whit Creech, more so on the offensive end, and actually being aggressive scoring. Do you want her to do the same thing this year, maybe even more so? Do
I want her to do the same thing for me to want more of her?
Be more aggressive.
Absolutely. That's not changed. You know, it's not changed from when we had our little conversation on the bench at North Texas, and she went out and scored 15 points in 13 minutes. We still need her. For us to be a great team, we need her to be great. We need her to be as good as she can be, and not just to taking care of the ball and distributing the ball and keeping us in our offense or our defense. We need her to be a basketball player, and that's what I tell her from day one. I've told her we need her to go be a basketball player and recognize that when the defense is giving you something, just go take it. And in our practice, I call that free money. I said we'll take all the free money we can find, and we'll come back and work for it later. So I need her to go find some of those kind of opportunities.
Coach, you talked a lot about execution offensively, taking care of the ball, setting good screens. Less than a week out from Wesleyan exhibition and less than 2 weeks from the start of the regular season. Where do you think you guys are at with that?
We're better. We're clearly better, and we're doing probably the biggest positive is we're doing a much better job of working to get each other good shots, and that was a big change from last year. I felt like there were a lot of opportunities, a lot of situations last year where one player had the ball, and we had 4 more players watching them until they got the ball. And so we worked on that last year, but it just didn't really click. And I think even though we're not as efficient as I want us to be, or we're not as sharp as I'd like for us to be right now, I think we're still a better team, and we're working with the ball's moving more, and we're getting open shots in practice and against our scout team as well. And so that's the biggest positive. I think there's still room for us to continue to improve.
Last season, you had to heading in last season, you kind of had to establish a new starting 5. This year, you got a lot of that starting 5 returning. But with some of these newcomers, is that starting 5, do you think, maybe going to remain close to the same, or is it going to change some, or what have you seen so far?
Well, I don't think it'll change drastically. I mean, you got 2 players that are first team all conference in Raneem and D, and then you've got a point guard, a senior point guard that played the whole season, 35 ball games last year, had 55 turnovers. That's pretty impressive. And so, and then you had a freshman who made the all-freshman team, and so some of those things are not going to change. You know, obviously, it's going to change. Alexis Brewer's not going to be ready day 1, so that spot will change. I think what you will see that I expect to see that's different will be we won't have players that'll have to go 35 consecutive minutes before they can get a blow. I think we'll have some opportunities where some players can come off and give them breaks, and maybe we can stay fresher longer and more competitive longer.
How have you seen Dee kind of develop during her time here on the Hill?
From freshman to now, it's night and day, and I kind of use it as a comparison to Mariah Haywood, who is a redshirt freshman this year, and so she's kind of where Dee was as a freshman right now. She's still learning about how to practice consistently. Dee's kind of already done that, and she's kind of setting that example for her, which is kind of great because she didn't necessarily have that when she was a freshman. And Dee's continued to grow, even though she had success last season. She continued to grow and stay hungry throughout the summer. She's in the gym before everybody else. She comes in, she'll be in there all the time, working to get better. So she's really hungry and driven, and I think that's the biggest change. And she's had a little bit of taste of success, but also a little bit of disappointment in last season. So she's really driven, as well as the other returning players, just to prove that we're a little bit better than we finished.
With Maryland and Raneem playing for Egypt and then coming back, what kind of progression have you seen in both of their games from getting to have that experience and come back to the States?
Well, as I mentioned last night, that probably the greatest thing about them playing for their national team in the summer is that they're playing games that are meaningful. A lot of times in the summer, you practice, you work out, you play 5-on, you scrim, whatever you're going to do with your time that you're allowed to work out in. But it's still not the same as having the lights on. There's an opponent, there's a score, and in a tournament situation, you lose and you go home. I think those are really positives that they continue to play those type of games and come back. Since they've been here, the conditioning, the attention to detail, the work ethic has continued to improve, and so I have nothing but high hopes for both of them. I think they're both going to have sort of like breakout years. I know Raneem had a really great year last year, but it was still in a lot of ways a learning year for her. It was the first year that she had played without Ivy Brown, and some of those things showed up really on the boards and defense because Ivy was really great at rebounding and covering up a lot of our mistakes on defense. I mean, Ivy covered it. That's why she was Defensive Player of the Year, and so Raneem had to learn some of those things, and sometimes the hard way. And so I really think in a lot of ways both of these players are poised for a real breakout season.
So it would help to have Ivy back to help not just Raneem continue to learn those things, but help other players that she suited up with while she was here? Yeah,
absolutely. You know, she in her own way knows kind of when a player needs an arm around the shoulder and when they might need a swift kick in the butt and say you can do it and get on back out there. And so in her own way, she's been good for the players just to bounce ideas off of and kind of get feedback from. She's just a joy to have back around. Yeah. I always threaten. I joke about I'm going to send her to the scorer's table to check the score, just so I can see the reaction by the other coach down there that thinks she's checking in the ball game. So.
You guys have talked a lot about your defense and really worked on that this preseason. It sounds like. How has that changed what you've seen in practice, whether it's intensity or attitude or whatnot? Yeah,
it's about intensity and playing hard. We talk about multiple efforts on defense, not stopping until the whistle blows or we get the ball, and that's really what we're trying to instill in this team, is to make sure that we're going to play hard regardless of the score, regardless of the time, and we're going to continue to play hard even when it doesn't seem like it's going our way. And a lot of times if you do that, just great effort, sometimes it'll come back your way. And I've seen that, and now they hold each other more accountable for those plays. And so I'm anxious to see how we'll do when we get into another team that's playing in a similar way.
Coach, you mentioned Dee being disappointed by last year's finish, and obviously year in, year out as a coach and as your team, your goal is to win a conference championship and go to the tournament. But how valuable was that experience in the WNIT and the run that you were able to make after the regular season and conference tournament were over?
Yeah, for all of them, it was important, because being in these new roles, not having the leaders that they had in the previous season was critical. And it actually extended back beyond, even before we got to the conference tournament. We had several crucial games that we needed to play well, and we did, and won those games, and then get to play in the WNIT. And really for them to recognize the value of our fans. We went and played at Miami of Ohio, and we had as many, if not more, fans than they had there. And then a similar situation when we went back and played at Athens, Ohio, and played Ohio University. And so really that kind of got our kids motivated even more, and I think they're hungry for just to prove to our fans that they didn't travel all that way for nothing. They want to come back and play hard and earn their respect and really get those fans back in the seats here in Diddle Arena.
I think in this area you said something along the lines of you guys had a good season last year, but the goals are even higher this year.
Sure.
What are those goals, and what will make you consider this a successful season, I guess?
Well, this conference is still, men's or women's, it doesn't matter. This conference is still, you got to put yourself in a position to win 3 games in 3 days. That's just the way it is. And so that doesn't change. And with knowing that, right now, Rice, on our side, Rice is returning Player of the Year and 6'9" player in there, and so that doesn't change. And then Middle Tennessee's got good players. WBB's got a bunch of seniors back, and so this conference is as tough, if not tougher, than it's been since we've been in it. And so that doesn't change. And I think those goals are to beat those teams that we didn't beat last year or even the year before that, and put ourselves in a position to get 3 games in 3 days. And then you got to have a little bit of luck, and you got to play well those 3 days, and to get a shot to get back to the NCAA tournament. Prior to that, our goals are we've got a really tough non-conference schedule again. It's slightly different than last year. We don't have quite as many top 25 teams on that schedule, but there's still a lot of NCAA tournament and NCAA caliber type teams on there, so we need to play well. The difference is if we play well, we got a shot in these games, and I like that. And so we're gonna get tested early. The first 5 games will test us, and really will continue to get tested and get us ready for a conference season.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.